Before we proceed, I'd like to turn over the meeting to a student who will receive tonight's President's Award. Please welcome Levi Loya.
Thank you. My name is Levi Loya, and I am a fifth grader at Dolphin Terrace Elementary School. It is my honor to call this meeting to order. Thank you.
Levi taught me a lesson how to hit a gavel. It has become a tradition and honor to honor our nation at each of our board meetings by presenting the colors, reciting the Pledge of Allegiance, and then posting the colors. The colors tonight are being presented by Junior ROTC color guard from the True Pride of the Lower Valley, Riverside High School. Our color commander is Vanessa Aracon. Our other color guard members are Cadet Darian Garabat and Cadet Daniel Ibarza. And the pledge leader is Jalen Escarcega. Will you please stand for the presentation of colors, the recital of the Pledge of Allegiance, Texas Pledge of Allegiance, moment of silence. Please remain standing until the cadets have departed.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now please join me for the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one indivisible. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to the Ysleta Independent School District Board of Trustees meeting. In accordance with Ysleta ISD Policy BED, this meeting is open to the public and we invite citizens to offer comments during this designated citizens input portion of the agenda. Please note that the board will listen to all input but is legally restricted from discussing or deliberating on matters presented during this time. This meeting of the Board of Trustees is called to order at 6:06. We have a quorum with Trustee Hernandez, with Trustee Haggerty, with Trustee Woodruff, with Trustee Ochoa, with Trustee Rivera, with Trustee Dwyer, and myself, Trustee Bustillos. Dr. De La Torre, do we have any recognitions,
Good
introductions
evening.
this evening?
Good evening, President Bustillos, members of the board, esteemed guests. Yes, at this time, I'd invite our Chief Human Capital Management Officer, Mrs. Bobby Russell Garcia, to lead in our recognitions and introductions this evening.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. De La Torre. We have 6 recognitions this evening. At this time, we ask all trustees to please come to the front of the dais. Audience members, please remain seated until all recognitions are complete. Thank you. Our first recognition honors student Levi Loya, whose kind heart, thoughtful nature, and exceptional service are admired by students and teachers at Dolphin Terrace Elementary School. Campus leaders say Levi shows maturity beyond his years and takes responsibility not only for his own success, but also the success of those around him. When a classmate is absent, Levi makes sure to share his notes so they don't fall behind. When a student struggles, he becomes their advocate, patiently taking time to help them learn. Recently, when a classmate broke her arm, Levi stepped in to carry her belongings from class to class and assist with whatever she needed throughout the day. He also takes pride in helping keep classrooms clean and organized before transitions, making sure materials are put away and the room is ready for the next group of students. Levi's leadership, kindness, and commitment to others make him a positive role model and outstanding student, and we proudly honor his efforts with this month's President's Award. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome from Dolphin Terrace Elementary School, Levi Loya. Levi is accompanied by Assistant Principal Stella Miramontes. Cheer it again for Levi and the Dolphins. Our second recognition honors our first place winners from Eastwood and Valle Verde Early College High Schools who competed against more than 150 students from a dozen schools at this year's Region 19 Texas High School Mock Trial Contest at the El Paso County Courthouse. In this competition, students took on the roles of attorneys and witnesses, delivering opening statements, conducting direct and cross-examinations, and making closing arguments before local judges and attorneys. The Valle Verde team captured the regional championship and became the first Ysleta ISD team in recent history to advance to state, where they did an outstanding job representing our district. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me congratulate this year's regional mock trial competition winners. We begin with Eastwood High School student who won Best Witness honors. Please welcome Aiden Ramos Gomez. He is accompanied by teacher Stephanie Delgado Rangel and Principal Rob Robledo. Congratulations to the troopers. Now, let's congratulate our Texas High School Mock Trial Regional Champions from Valle Verde Early College High School. Please welcome Xenia Agata. Connor Bryan. Ian Garcia. Jacqueline Guerrero. Rebecca Olguin. Claudia Limon. Fernanda Miranda. Natalie Ornelas. Kiara Piñon. Lainey Rodriguez. Catalina Trujillo. And winning Best Classroom Artist at Regionals, please welcome Diana Hernandez Minjares. The team is accompanied by teacher Timothy Haddix and principal Claudia Canava Flores. Congratulations to the Spartans. Our third recognition honors the dance teams from Del Valle and Ysleta High School and the Young Women's Leadership Academy, which all earned a Division I Superior rating at the inaugural Far West Texas Dance Educators Association Spring Assessment. Each team was evaluated according to a rigorous state standardized rubric that emphasizes wellness, healthy sportsmanship, high-level performance, and artistic growth. Ladies and gentlemen, we begin our recognition with the student representatives from Del Valle High School's Fuego Dance Team. Please give a warm welcome to Mia Buga. And Ismael Rodriguez. They are accompanied by dance director Gloria Tovar and principal Valerie Hairston. Let's hear for the Conquistadores. Next, we have Ysleta High School. Representing the school's Danza Folklorico group, please welcome Vivian Rodriguez. Carla Castañeda. Abe Melendez. And Jesus Salas. And also Bianca Alvarez. And here to represent Ysleta High School's Dancing Spirit Group, let's hear it for Ariel Sanchez. Aubrey Luevano. Carolyn Medina. Yareli Pereira. And Camila Nevares. They are accompanied by dance directors Corina Valdez and Principal Amelia Garcia. Thank you. Let's hear it for the Indians. Our final group of talented dancers comes from the Young Women's Leadership Academy Legacy Dance Team. Please welcome Zoe Avila. And Rain Silva. They are accompanied by dance director Cristina Segovia and principal Melinda Villalobos. Congratulations to the Transformers. Our fourth recognition honors outstanding student artists from Bel Air, Eastwood, Hanks, and Riverside High Schools, as well as Hanks Middle School, who won gold or silver key awards at the New Mexico Scholastic Art Awards competition. This contest is the longest-running, most prestigious recognition program for creative teens in the country, with more than 185,000 works of art and writing entered annually, and it is also the largest source of scholarships for young artists and writers. Now, let's meet our 2026 gold and silver key winners, starting with Bel Air High School students, Miguel Correa. Danica Hernandez. Haley Rangel. Janelli Rojas. And Dana Veloz. They are accompanied by teachers Cesar Aguayo and Alejandra Ortega, and Principal James McIntyre. Let's hear it for the Highlanders. Next, from Eastwood High School, please help me congratulate Faith Carrasco, Exilia Lujan, and Kylie Sullivan. They are accompanied by teachers Angelica Guillen and Principal Rob Robledo. Congratulations to the troopers. Now, please welcome our Gold Key and Silver Key winner from Riverside High School, Jada Lynn Escarcega. She is accompanied by teacher Jacqueline Martinez and Principal Victor Lara. Let's hear it for the Rangers. And now let's introduce our gold or silver key winners from Hanks Learning Community. From Hanks Middle School, please welcome Zoe Cabral. And from Hanks High School, please welcome Derek Perez. Tatiana Porras, and Amia Torres. They are accompanied by Hanks Middle School teacher Sandra Enriquez and Principal Jared Lucero, and Hanks High School teacher Lorena Williams and Principal Daniel Gutierrez. Let's hear it for the Cavaliers and Knights. Our next recognition highlights the impressive talent of 4 high school mariachi ensembles, which advanced to compete at the 2026 UIL State Mariachi Festival after earning Division I ratings at the regional contest in January. At the state championships, our exceptional mariachi groups took the stage with incredible heart and skill, winning over the judges and earning top ratings across the board, while 2 Del Valle High School students won coveted Outstanding Individual Performer Awards. Our mariachis represented the district with pride, and we congratulate them on a job well done. Ladies and gentlemen, let's begin by introducing student leaders from the mariachi groups that earned Division II ratings of excellent at the state festival, beginning with Eastwood High School's Mariachi Reina. Please give a warm welcome to Daniel Loya. Joshua Morales. Azazia Silva Quintanar. And Andrea Torres. They are accompanied by Director Amy Jaquez and Principal Rob Robledo. Congratulations to the troopers. Next, from the Young Women's Leadership Academy, we have Mariachi Cielo Azul. Representing the student musicians are Eloise Blanco, Melanie Calderon, Valentina Olguin, Jalen Sierra, and Evelyn Vargas. They are accompanied by Director Amy Smith and Principal Melinda Villalobos. Congratulations to the Transformers. And now, let's welcome the outstanding high school mariachis who rank among the best across Texas and El Paso after earning Division I superior ratings from every judge at state. First, we have Del Valle High School's Mariachi Los Conquistadores. This talented group not only rose to the top with their stellar performance, but 2 students also earned the prestigious Outstanding Individual Performer Award at state. What a wonderful way to showcase our district's pride, talent, and tradition. Please join me in congratulating Mariana Barbosa, Winning Outstanding Individual Performer for Exceptional Vocals is Jose Pablo Carrillo. And winning Outstanding Individual Performer for Flute Performance is Julian Gruber. They are accompanied by Director Valentin Gonzalez and Principal Valerie Hairston. Let's hear it again for the Conquistadores. Next, from Hanks High School, we have Mariachi Los Trovadores. This is the second year in a row that this talented, hardworking group has earned Division I superior ratings from all 3 judges at the state level. Their passion for mariachi music shines through in every performance, and we couldn't be prouder of the dedication and spirit they consistently bring to every stage. Please join me in welcoming students Jason Castillo. Claudia Delgado. And Rayleigh Munoz. They are accompanied by their director, Carla Urias Cuder, and Principal Daniel Gutierrez. Let's hear it for the Knights. Our final recognition tonight honors our phenomenal wrestlers from both Bel Air and Eastwood High Schools who captured multiple gold, silver, and bronze medals at the 5A and 6A UIL State Wrestling Championships that took place in February. Let's begin by welcoming our individual state medalists, starting with Bel Air High School. The Lady Highlanders earned their first ever top 3 finish at the UIL 5A Girls Wrestling State Championships, bringing home a team bronze medal and celebrating 2 individual medalists. This included a gold medal for 3-time state champion Sydney Davis, who was unable to attend tonight's meeting, but here to represent the mighty Highlanders after winning an individual silver medal in the 5A 125-pound class is Olivia Ontiveros. She is accompanied by coaches Carlos Armentares, Roger Martinez, and Jason Castillo. And Principal James McIntyre. And from Eastwood High School, please welcome gold medalist in the 6A 110-pound class, Haley Delgado. And gold medalist in the 6A 106-pound class, Hector Ortiz. They are accompanied by coaches Devin Vasquez, Aaron McKinney, Troy Douglas, and Gabriela Castro. and Principal Rob Robledo. Congratulations to the Highlanders and Troopers. And last, but certainly not least, our final honor of the evening goes to our four-time girls wrestling state champions from Eastwood High School. Year after year, the Lady Troopers put in the long hours, discipline, training, and commitment it takes to win a championship. And that effort once again elevated these hardworking athletes to the very top, raking up 82.5 points at the 6A state wrestling meet and finishing nearly 12 points ahead of the second place finisher to firmly secure their fourth state title since 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a huge round of applause to our four-time Texas State Girls Wrestling Champions, the phenomenal Lady Troopers. The team is comprised of Amira Castillo, Haley Delgado, Jaylee De Santos, Isabella Moreno, Nayeli Ortiz, and Alessandra Toscano. They are accompanied by coaches Troy Douglas and Gabriela Castro, and Principal Rob Robledo. Let's hear. This concludes our recognitions for this evening.
Do we have any citizens' input this evening?
No, we don't, Mr. President.
Thank you. I would like to take this time to recap a meeting with Senator Cesar Blanco regarding the YSD discussion on SB 12 and legislative priorities ahead of the 90th legislative session. So a couple weeks ago, we got together with Senator Blanco. I want to say thank you to Ms. Mata for putting this together, and thank you to Trustee Haggerty for bringing this up. And we were able to bring the kids from Parkland and Riverside and be able to meet Senator Blanco and talk about SB 12. And unfortunately, I had to leave because I had to go to work, but I do have also Dr. De La Torre for his help in putting this together. And both him and Mr. Haggerty had a great experience with our kids. It was absolutely top-notch, something that we needed to show our kids how laws work. So, Mr. Haggerty and Dr. De La Torre, I would like for you to put some input in this.
Sure. Thank you. I definitely want to thank Senator Blanco for the opportunity, and it was a really amazing experience, myself included. I was coming from work, so I was also a little late. But when I walked in, I already knew that Senator Blanco was impressed with Azra and Amadeus from Parkland and also Ava and Alexa from Riverside. When I walked in, they were talking, and the way they were talking, they came prepared, and they just crushed it. He wasn't holding back on his questions. He was speaking very technical almost about his work that he was doing for next session coming up, mostly against the Senate bill that had recently been passed. And the students had obviously read up on it. They were educated. They brought forth informed concerns about the bill, why it needs to be changed, but also what can be done to remedy what's been put into law already. And it was very obvious he was impressed. I already knew it was going to be a great experience because Senator Blanco happens to be an Ysleta alum. So I already knew that we were dealing with greatness. And every time I've gone to him for help on education, he's always been a great champion. But another thing that was really awesome was Senator Blanco let us know that this was the first time since he's been senator that any student from any school in El Paso has gone to his office and approached him on relevant subject matter. And they did so in a way that just left him impressed and wanting to do it more. So again, my thanks go out to those 4 students who just came up and they just did an amazing job. For Ms. Mata, for Dr. De La Torre for making this happen, and Senator Blanco for welcoming us into his office and just giving these kids an amazing opportunity. And apparently it's an opportunity you only get here at Ysleta. So thank you.
I think Trustee Haggerty has summed it up very, very well. I too want to thank Senator Blanco, Mrs. Priscilla Mata for having coordinated and given our students an experience that few students get, and that is to have a direct, candid dialogue, conversation with the state senator. As Mr. Haggerty said, the kids, they were impressive. They were a point of pride. They came prepared. They were candid. They were not coy or shy about their feelings relative to the Senate bill. And I think the second piece is we found value in that kind of dialogue, and Senator Blanco made a commitment to continue and be available for those kind of conversations, and both Mr. Haggerty and President Bustillos, his leadership, played a big part in making this happen, and we look forward to perhaps exposing our students to more civic and business leaders in our community that can expose them to what happens at the state level and also here at the civic level. So I want to thank both of the trustees for their participation, Ms. Mata for organizing it, and for having invited me. I just sat back and watched the kids do the Ysleta thing, and it was impressive.
Thank you. I look forward to the next time we meet. Okay, on to our board. Dr. De La Torre, do we have any presentations this evening?
We've got two presentations this evening, President Bustillos. We're going to start with just a brief update on our progress relative to the 2026-27 budget, and try to capture a moment in time to just see how we're doing as a district to really address that deficit and the budget for the next year. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to our Chief Finance and Operations Officer, Ms. Lindley Camber.
Good evening, President Bustillos, members of the board, and Dr. De La Torre. Yes, this evening I have a budget presentation where we are scheduled to talk about historical and projected enrollment along with the revenue sources that are derived from those projections. As we jump into the topic, I'd like to set some context and talk to you about, or remind you of, the 25-26 adopted revenue budget. We're only looking at the general fund right now, and you can see on the left of the graph that state aid represents about $338 million, or 85% of our annual operating budget. We receive from the federal government state health and related services reimbursements, Medicaid, claims administration reimbursements, along with indirect cost recovery to the tune of $5.1 million, a little over 1%. 1.95% represents other revenues of $7.7 million, and in this fiscal year, that revenue comes from the sale of vacant campus properties. We have sold several properties. Those sales have been completed. We have one pending that's been authorized by the board and is currently going through the due diligence process. And then on the far right, you can see that $47.2 million of our general fund revenue, or about 12%, comes from local property taxes paid by homeowners and commercial businesses. You well know that enrollment and average daily attendance are the primary drivers of Tier 1 revenue through state aid, and we've been in a pattern of declining enrollment for many years. One of the things that I want to point out to you is that each year we take a snapshot in late October where we determine what enrollment is. That's been the history for as long as I've been here, which is a little over 10 years now. And you can see that on 25-26, which is the second graph or the second line from the right, it now shows that we have lost 1,559 students. I've been reporting to you 1,400 students, which is true as of snapshot date. But this year, for the first time in history, TEA is moving to a real-time system where they see the data each month and they adjust funding each month rather than waiting until settlement in the following September. So beginning this year, we will start seeing a real-time reconciliation between our data and enrollment and other factors that drive that state aid. So in 25-26, I've adjusted the enrollment projection to show you what it was at the end of the last 6 weeks. The reason this is important is because I have projected a loss of 1,500 for next year. We've been experiencing, on average, over 1,000 students lost each year for the last 6 years. So 1,500 is representative of a conservative estimate for revenue for next year. And that brings me to the following slide then, which is an estimate of the general fund revenue that you can expect we will bring forward when we come forward with a budget recommendation. And the most notable changes are in state aid. If we lose 1,500 students, that's about $15 million in revenue. So we've reduced the 338 to 323 in alignment with the projection that we will likely lose around 1,500 students. Federal revenue remains the same. Other revenue, right now we're not projecting the sale of any properties, although we continue to pursue that opportunity with brokers. Those properties remain for sale and are advertised that way, and we do receive expressions of interest periodically. Of course, we'll continue to aggressively pursue those sales, but I don't want to build them into a budget when we don't have any offers on the table today. With regard to local property tax revenue, the number remains the same as it was in the 25-26 budget, because and let me talk you through this slide, we won't even see preliminary property values from CAD until after our next board meeting. So they are not required to release the preliminary values until April 25th of 2026, meaning I won't have anything to base an updated revenue budget on until then. Final certified values are statutorily mandated to be released on July 25th of every year. And I will remind you, and for those of you who are new, there's an inverse relationship between our property values and state aid. Often the example is used of a glass that's full, and when it's at the top of the glass, it represents a full measure of state aid and property value, or property tax aid. When that glass is pouring over, that's really a property-rich district, and that excess is taken and redistributed to poor property districts, of which we are. And so regardless of how much you get from the state or how much you get from local aid, it always is capped at about $10,000 per student. Foundation payments are based on current year property values, and this is just part of the discussion we're required to have with you based on the first reporting requirements. When we look at property values, you can see that they have climbed slightly every year since 2017. At about 2023, you can start seeing the value of the homestead exemption as it's being increased. It started at $25,000, went to $40,000, then to $100,000, and now that homestead exemption sits at $140,000. So for 2025, right now, we projected a very nominal increase of about $45 million in property values. When we receive those values on July 25th, we then come back to you in August to establish a tax rate. And for those of you who have not seen this presentation or talked with us about tax rate before, I want to walk you through some of what you see here. The blue band represents the part of the rate that's for M&O, for maintenance and operations. And unlike cities and counties, the state sets our M&O rate. We don't, although you adopt it, if we don't take what the state says we should approve as the MCR, which is the maximum compressed rate, you lose state matching aid. So the state sets it, we adopt it and ask you to approve what the state sets for M&O, maximizing thereby our state match. You can see the gray part of each bar represents our debt service payment. And unlike cities and counties, school districts may not issue and levy for debt unless it's been voter approved. So everything that's paid for by the gray bar at the top has been voter approved debt. You can see that in 2021 through 21-22, that's the highest our tax rate's ever been, and it was largely because we had finally sold all of the 2015 and 2019 debt. But since 21-22, our rate, the INS rate, the gray part, has continually declined until now it's at 0.43. The M&O rate in the blue has also been compressed, not by us, but by the state. And so they're determining that they're going to lessen the burden on homeowners and property owners so that the M&O rate has now come down as well. I anticipate that we will not bring to you a rate that is over the 25-26 nominal rate. So when I come back in August, most likely because the state will compress the blue part and because I need less in the gray part to support our ongoing debt, the rate will likely be recommended at slightly less than $1.20 or at 1.2005. And with that, I can take any questions you might have.
Mr. Hernandez.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Ms. Lindley, for this presentation. Thank you for all the work you and your team do. My question, I have a couple questions, but my main one is, what's the biggest difference you've seen since the last meeting in doing your work of your assessment of our financial status?
So with regard to expenditures, we're doing a phenomenal job. You can see in this month's expenditures in the financial report, which is not here, but it is in your backup to your agenda, we're about 2.96% below where we should be after 7 months of expenditures. So after the end of January, we're about 2.96 below expenditures, which is almost $13 million. Now, that's a conservative estimate. We still have some pretty big expenditures coming up in the foregoing months. As I've told you before, revenue is largely controlled at the state level. We have very little to say about it. The things we can control and work on, like property sales, we do. But on the expenditure side, we're still doing very well.
Very good. On properties, do we still have any properties for sale?
I'm sorry?
Properties for sale?
Yes, we still do have properties for sale, but I didn't hear your question about them. I'm sorry.
That was the question, and I'll follow up with how many properties do we currently have for sale?
I believe there are 7 that remain for sale. So we've sold South Loop in 21 or 22. We sold the McRae excess properties, and the next year we sold 4 in this fiscal year, or will complete 4 by the end of this fiscal year.
Okay. Are we optimistic about being able to sell any of those next year to generate more revenue?
We are exerting significant effort to sell them, but because many people know that we are cash strapped, most of the offers I get are far below market value, and so we have yet to recommend acceptance of any of those offers. But we continue to work on it.
My last question is regarding your projection for next year on enrollment loss. You have that projection at 1,500?
Yes, sir.
Do you find that to be optimistic or closer to worst case scenario?
I believe it's a conservative estimate. I don't think we'll exceed the 1,500, though we might. But if you look at our historical pattern, well over 1,000 every year, I think it's probably a reasonable estimate. I'm not of the type, and you'll see it in my peers around me, they typically will estimate, oh no, we're only going to lose 500, we're only going to lose 400, and thereby balance a budget using fund balance and then come back and ask for forgiveness. I'd rather tell you flat out, this is the trend. I don't think we'll see, if we do go over 1,500, it'll be very nominal, like the 1,559 we're experiencing now. But we are seeing the trend of much lower birth rates. Half of the number of students we previously had entering kindergarten is what we're seeing today. And then that trend just continues through so that we are graduating less as well.
I think your estimates have been closer probably than other districts, but still, we're typically seeing our enrollment loss be worse than what we were anticipating. I'm thinking it would be in our strategic interest to assume a greater loss than 1,500. Maybe a loss of 1,800, because as we've said in previous meetings, it's a lot easier to work assuming less revenues than to adopt a budget and find out the revenues weren't what we hoped for. Can we work in that direction, anticipating a larger loss?
I think we certainly can. Keep in mind that for this year, we used 1,000. So increasing it by 50% is already a pretty significant bite at a larger loss of enrollment. So
I don't think we should be measuring based off what we predicted, but
off where we are.
but what the trends are.
Sure.
Thank you, Ms. for this presentation.
Yes, sir.
There's just one other element, and that is that if you increase it to 1,800 and you budget for 1,800, it requires less teachers. And we have to have the capacity to avoid laying off teachers by making sure that what we project creates the vacancies that we can accommodate. If we go too hard, it'll create an excess of teachers and we won't have vacancies to put them in. Do you see what I'm saying? So if I add 300 more students, that means I need less teachers. If I don't have the vacancies for those teachers, then the only other option is to move into a reduction in force and then come back if we don't meet it and try and re-employ those teachers because they were laid off in anticipation of losing 1,800 students instead of 15. So there is a sweet spot that you want to hit where there isn't a great deal of risk and you're not being overly generous. I think, as Lindley said, you have a lot of CFOs who like under projecting because they like going up before their board and saying, I think I can deliver a balanced budget, but you're delivering it by under-projecting the number of students you're going to enroll, and then later you ask for forgiveness. We kind of err on the side of 1,500 is, I think, already pretty aggressive.
Anybody else? Thank you, Ms. Cameron.
Yes, sir, thank you.
As Dr. Chacon and Bobby come up, the next topic may be something very familiar to some of you. It may not be as familiar to others. It has to do with a 2019 HB3 program, the teacher incentive allotment, where the premise was to use targeted funding to reward, retain, and recruit effective teachers, especially in high-need areas, content areas, and in high-need campuses. And the rationale was that let me say it differently, while holding everybody harmless and making sure that everybody is paid based on their step and experience, that they would set aside money to reward effective teaching rather than rely exclusively on seniority. That there's additional money that can be as much as $30,000, $35,000 would allow teachers in some cases to earn six figures. That by doing that, people in colleges and universities would be more likely to consider going into the teaching profession than if we allow it to remain where it currently sits. It would provide financial incentive for teachers to want to teach in the most challenging environments, the most challenging schools. That was defined by poverty levels. So you'll find that the teacher incentive allotment isn't a set number. It's a range of, from 20,000 to as much as 28,000. That variance depends on the perceived difficulty of the assignment by school. And it would encourage teachers to want to get better, participate in professional development, but people have different opinions on it. And tonight what we'd like to do is at least give you a TIA, or Teacher Incentive Allotment 101 introduction, and then allow you to ask questions and then go back and think about it, and then we'll bring it back at a future date and talk about it again. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Bobby Russell Garcia.
Good evening, President Bustillos, members of the board, Dr. De La Torre. Thank you for allowing us to present to you tonight on teacher incentive allotment. So what we know about teacher incentive allotment is it's just an additional opportunity for our classroom teachers to obtain additional compensation from the Texas legislature. So when we say that we're beginning implementation in the 26-27 school year, that doesn't mean that we've already been approved. The intention is for us to formally apply on April 15th of this year. So the evaluation for our teachers that will be utilized to determine what criteria or level they'll meet as far as teacher incentive allotment goes would be based on their attendance at work, student growth, and their T-test rating. And there's 4 different designations, which we'll get into more detail as we move along in the presentation. But the 4 levels are acknowledged, recognized, exemplary, and master. So once a teacher receives a designation from the state, they maintain that designation for 5 years, and it does go on their teacher certification. And the teachers with a designation can qualify for additional campus compensation based on their designation at the school they teach in. So what that means is the designation follows the teacher. So if we have a teacher that's at Scottsdale and they decide that they want to move to Capistrano Elementary, their monies that come with them as that designated teacher would move with them to the campus in which they're assigned. And as you can see, there's a range of monies that can be given to each of the teachers based on the designation that they receive. And you're probably asking yourself, well, why is there a range? Shouldn't it just be if you're acknowledged, you get this amount, if you're recognized, you get this amount? The reason for that is because the monies that are associated with the designation are directly related to the socioeconomic status for each individual campus. So for example, if we compare an acknowledged teacher at Presa and Scottsdale A teacher at Presa could receive up to $6,600, while a teacher at Scottsdale would receive $5,000. And if we take that to a master teacher level, at Presa, the teacher would get $26,600, and at Scottsdale, a teacher would get $20,100, because there's a difference in the economically disadvantaged status of each of the individual campuses. So teachers that qualify for teacher incentive allotment have to be face-to-face instructional staff with students. So they have to provide direct instruction at least 50% or more of the day. Those teachers that do fall under teacher incentive allotment have to be evaluated annually. And what that means is they would no longer qualify for a 3-year waiver. And teachers that are in the selected content area that will be participating in teacher incentive allotment cannot opt out from participation. And so what we're looking at is teachers of record in math, to include resource math courses in grades 4 through 8 and Algebra 1. The reason we selected this cohort is what we know is that the math TEKS are not changing. And so because they're not changing, teachers are directly familiar with that content. In our other content areas, the state is currently undergoing modifications to the TEKS, and it would be unfair to put some of those teachers and teacher incentive allotment if they don't know the direct instruction yet, because they're not familiar with the TEKS that's coming along with it. So this shows you the proposed targets for the state. And what the state has determined is that at least 5% of teachers across the state would fall within the master level, while 15% would fall in the exemplary level, 13% at the recognized level, and 17% at the acknowledged level. Now, with the high-performing districts such as the Ysleta Independent School District, the state would technically expect our master level teachers to be at a much higher percentage than the overall state percentage. So let's talk about attendance. And so attendance was one of the components that we're considering utilizing in our application. And the reason for that is because research demonstrates that students that are taught by their teacher more frequently are going to learn better. It's consistent, and they know exactly what is expected. So outside of personal illness time, teachers have 55 days off per year that they can take. And what that includes is personal business time, which each teacher would get 5 days of personal business, along with all of the different holidays that are recognized below, and you can see each of those, such as Labor Day, Fall Intercession, and then we have Fall Break, we have Spring Intercession, Spring Break, Christmas Break. On top of that, to meet the attendance requirement, a teacher could have an additional 9 days of personal illness time. And so all of that together would give them enough time to take off in case they had life, right? Life happens to all of us. We know that there are going to be days where our tires are going to go flat or someone gets sick, and we definitely need to take that into consideration. But one thing that I want to add in this part of it is if a teacher is on a protected leave of absence, such as an FMLA, intermittent leave, military leave, that would not count against them. So how designations would be awarded is based on the domains 2 and 3 in their T-test evaluation, and that's direct instruction in the learning environment that is provided to the students. Now, if a teacher gets a rating of a developed or needs improvement, they automatically would not qualify. And that comes from the state, and Texas Tech will review our data that we submit to make sure it's validated. So one thing that we noticed when we were going through and starting our application process is that you can't give a rating to a word, right? You need a score in order to have a rating. And so we had to connect a score to each of the different levels of distinction that a teacher could earn. And it's directly correlated to what grades our students get in the classroom. And as you can see on the screen, just to be a distinguished teacher, you would want 100%, accomplished 85, proficient 70, developing 60, and needs improvement at 30. Now, please note on this part, a teacher always has the option to appeal any form of evaluation that they receive. So Chapter 150 of Texas Commissioner Rules, which govern our evaluation process through T-tests, gives teachers the ability to request a second appraiser from a neutral party. That means that individual that is going to be doing the second appraisal will not be an administrator at that teacher's campus. In fact, the administrator is selected randomly. and the teacher has a decision in the person that will be evaluating them. And on top of that, we also have our grievance process, which is definitely permitted to be utilized during the appeal process as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Chacon shortly, but what we're going to talk about before is how are the designations going to be awarded. So first we have classroom growth. That's what we're used to hearing all the time, right? Dr. Chacon repeatedly tells us that growth is important and we want students to grow based on their performance from one year to the next. We have grade level growth, and then we have composite growth.
Good evening, President Bustillos, members of the board, Dr. De La Torre. So student growth will be based on the STAR growth that you are familiar with. So think of your domain 2 when you've heard me present before, and we talk about students going from approaches to meets, right, and meets to masters and not going backwards, right? You always want them to either maintain or continue to grow within the growth world, not the achievement, but the growth of the student. So here is the area that we've selected for TIA, student growth, and it does involve 4th through 8th math and Algebra 1. You're probably asking yourselves, why not 3rd grade? 3rd grade, remember, does not have a growth component because that's the first time, that's the baseline, basically, that the students are taking the assessments. So that's why 4th through 8th does, and Algebra 1 compares them to that. We wanted to ensure a few things that are what I would say the DNA of the district that's essential to our success. As you know, the district is a high-performing district, and it doesn't come by accident. It comes from the hard work that our teachers put in and day out, and it comes from our systems, which are very strong of collaboration, of professional learning communities, and we wanted to ensure that regardless of the Texas incentive allotment, that the Ysleta Independent School District would continue to still have that at their core. We believe in the importance of all students growing. We don't want to lose our values, or that, you know, it's a system, it's a belief that all our teachers believe that everybody has the potential to grow. So as you can see here with classroom and growth, it measures previous STAR to current STAR, and then it gives a composite growth of the weighted classroom growth and the grade level growth. So this particular slide happened through a series of stakeholders. We have met with, throughout the spring semester, the beginning of the spring semester, we have met with teachers. All math teachers were invited to a meeting to give their feedback on, okay, what should the targets look like? Now that you know that Texas Incentive Allotment involves T-test and STAR growth, where should we have our baseline? What should our targets be? So we had cohorts of teachers. We also presented to our parents, our parent advisory committee, to our DEIC, to our principals, along with the professional learning communities, to gather feedback on the targets. So after all of those stakeholders, this is what they arrived to try to, for a baseline. So in order to be an acknowledged teacher, receive the designations, remember their T-test score would be at 74%, and the growth for students, for example, on the acknowledged would be at 73. Then you go to recognized, and you see that it goes up just a little bit more. Observation 79, growth 77. Exemplary 85, growth 83. And then a master teacher is 90% and growth 89. So the targets also, we want to talk about the targets. Again, going back to that you're a high-performing district, right? So your growth is already higher than the state average. So we wanted to maintain that as well too. We don't want to, obviously we like being the highest performing district. We want to continue to strive for that. And these targets provide that fair balance between in the accountability world for TIA to ensure that our students continue growing and to ensure that we continue to be the highest performing district.
So then we have to look at designation versus compensation. And so designation does not trigger compensation directly. The designation, it's a 5-year award from the state. The designation can improve over the 5 years, but a teacher cannot go back. So if a teacher has a master level designation 1 year and then they go to recognize the next, their designation on their certificate will remain as master. So also, the teacher designation can't worsen, and teachers do not lose their designation, and that's unless TEA removes that designation. So in order for something like that to happen, of course, it has to be an egregious act, maybe cheating on an exam, something of that nature, and that decision would come directly from the Texas Education Agency. Now, compensation amounts are directly reflective to performance of the teacher. So although the designation may be master's, if they got recognized the following year, then their payout would be that of recognized. It would follow what rating they did obtain. And one thing that I think is really important to note on this slide is that teachers will always maintain their base salary. So they're never going to get less than their base salary. They can only get more based on the designation if indeed they do receive it. And they do have to meet all of the requirements of the designation, to include the attendance portion of it, also student growth and their outcome on their evaluation. So another thing that we have to consider is we want our teachers to be with students the entire school year to receive it. And so the teachers would need to be employed with the district by July 31st to be eligible. 10% of the allotment can be utilized by the district, and that's for support. We want to make sure that we're providing our teachers the professional development they need to ensure their success. The worst thing that we could do is put the teachers in a position where they're not ready and able to teach their content area and aren't successful. So we want to make sure we put those parameters in place. And when the teacher does receive the 90%, the remaining amount of the designation, of course, taxes, TRS, and other deductions have to be removed. One thing that I thought was really amazing about teacher incentive allotment is it is TRS qualifiable. So what that means is it can help increase their retirement at that time as their top 5 school years. So it is going to be paid out once a year in the form of a stipend. It'll be a single disbursement in August, and the district would be reimbursed 100% in September. So we are prepaying our teachers 1 month in advance, but we receive that money immediately the following month. If a designated teacher in an elementary school is not eligible to receive the monies, for example, let's say they didn't meet the attendance threshold, then that money that teacher would have received would be spread out amongst the grade level of non-qualifying TIA teachers. So if we're using math and it's a departmentalized grade level, then the other teachers that are not part of teacher incentive allotment would receive that money in an equal disbursement for each of them. And for secondary teachers that fall in the same area, that would be against their content level. Their content level would receive those monies. So now let's talk about the implementation timeline, because we feel like we're way ahead of the game, but in reality we're not. And so as you can see where our little red arrow is, we're at the very beginning planning stages right now. One thing that I think is important to note is after this year, 83% of districts in the region will be participating in teacher incentive allotment in some form. There's only one district and it's a rural district, that we are not sure if they will be applying, but all other districts in the region have applied. And so we really want to maintain our marketability, because now that other large districts are intending to participate in teacher incentive allotment, our stellar teachers that we want to maintain will start going to other districts, and we want to make sure that we keep those best teachers to ensure that we remain a high-performing district. So right now we're in plan submission. If we indeed go through with our application, it has to be submitted to Texas Tech in Lubbock, who is the reviewer, and that needs to be done by April 15th of this school year. Then it goes through the approval process. If we are approved during the first application time, then we have to start collecting data next year. That data then gets validated by Texas Tech. It also goes through the Texas Education Agency, and teachers won't receive their first stipend until August of 2028. So it seems like we're moving quickly, but in reality, it's a slow roll, kind of like a train on a train track. We're moving slowly because there's so many different steps that we have to go through to make sure that the data that we utilize is validated and that our application is acceptable by Texas Tech and the Texas Education Agency. So that concludes our presentation for this evening, but of course we are open to any questions you may have.
Let's go with You got a question?
Somebody else can go first.
So you don't mind if we go here? Let's go, Ms. Woodruff.
I was just wondering, you said that if a teacher changes campuses, that their designation goes with them to that campus. What if they change districts?
It also follows them, and then their payout would go from TEA to that campus, and it would be based on the socioeconomic status of the campus in which they are.
That's all I have.
Mr. Haggerty, do you have any questions? Or Hernandez?
Yes, well, thank you for this presentation. So let me be sure I understand. We're talking about giving more money to our most effective teachers, to say simply, right? And the teachers that qualify for a stipend is determined by the state, by TEA, or who determines that?
That is determined by the state based on student growth, their T-test evaluation, and then the additional component is their attendance. Right now, we're simply looking at math, but eventually we would like to expand to our other content areas as well, and eventually get to the point where all of our teachers could potentially qualify.
Does any personnel at YISD have any say in who our most effective teachers are?
Effective teachers are, we don't determine who the effective teachers are. The effective teachers are based on what their student growth measure is through the STAR exam, as well as their observation, which is their summative evaluation, and that comes from TEA directly. They validate the data, and then they give us the rating or designation that the teacher would have, which is what says whether or not they are a stellar teacher, or fall within the 4 dimensions.
Okay. I know sometimes we approve going over the recommended classroom size. In other words, some teachers have more students than others. Does that play any role into a teacher being compensated more?
I want to make sure that I'm understanding your question correctly. So if a teacher has 2 or 3 students more in their classroom, do we pay them more?
Is that taken into consideration for this TIA, teacher incentive allotment?
It could certainly help them. So if you have more students in the classroom, you have more opportunity for growth. So it could definitely help them. We would never want it to hinder them. And we do always try to limit the amount of classrooms that go over in number.
Okay. Is any action required by the board, or are you simply just giving us updates?
The board is required to approve the budget plan when you approve your annual compensation plan. But the Texas incentive allotment involves the stakeholders of all of us, which is why we're here, but not necessarily a board action. The action comes when you approve the budget side of the spending plan in the compensation plan.
All the funding for this TIA will come from the state? Fantastic. Is there any criticism for TIA?
I'm
Is
sorry.
my time up, Mr. President?
Yes, your time's up.
Can you repeat?
I got other trustees that have questions.
What was my question?
Is there any negative?
Oh yeah, is there any criticism for TIA? Is anybody opposed to this? I don't see any reason why.
I have not heard any negative
Okay.
comments at all about it. In fact, the teachers that we have spoken with have all been excited about it.
Yeah, that's what I would assume. I just wanted to be sure. This sounds fantastic. I'm very happy that this is happening. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. Mr. Ochoa.
Yes, I have some questions on how this process is going to work, especially for T-test, since I was subjected to that when I was a teacher as well. But I know that the observation sometimes can be very subjective. And are we having some form of training for having uniform evaluation across the district, especially for this part when administration goes and evaluates these teachers? I know some of them are real buddy-buddies with some of them they don't like. And that's the reality of how it works. But I just want to make sure that everybody gets a fair deal if they apply for this, that they are treated fairly.
And I actually love your question, and I have to say, great minds think alike. So far this school year, Dr. Chacon and I have began a coaching training with our assistant principals. And what that training entails is calibrating. We want to reteach them how to calibrate evaluations, how to make sure, because in reality, student performance should be directly related to T-tests. And if an administrator goes into the classroom, they should utilize the rubric to determine that rating. Now, on top of that, one thing that we have to remind our administrators, and we'll work on our principals next, we've done our training 4 different times, and we've got great feedback, because at the end, it's like a light bulb goes off, and they're like, oh, I get it. Like, that's what calibrating is. And so our principals will be next, and we'll work with them on calibrating as well.
Okay. My next question is, okay, the students, the teachers that get to teach these classes, especially in Algebra 1 and what was the other one? Resource math, or what was it?
It's 4 through 8 mathematics, Algebra 1, and any resource teacher that teaches that area.
So this is going to be throughout the district. Now, my question is, how are these students going to be selected for these classes? Is one teacher going to have, oh, I want Joe, I want Mary, I want this, because they're hyper achievers? How are you going to prevent from that happening?
No, we will continue our practices that we currently have when our principals balance their classes and select by cohorts. Now, that is why we selected growth, and I want to take you back to the growth piece. Remember, achievement is one piece, but growth is another. So you might very well have a resource class, right, of students who have special needs, and they're at the did not meets, for example, or the did not approach, right, at the low. Remember, the intent is not for them to pass or master or even approach. The intent is for them to go to the high did not meets for the next school year. So that is why we selected the growth measure, because we want to ensure that we are fair to all our students. And we know that we have lots of challenges in our district. We don't shy away from them. But we wanted to make it something where our teachers can meet this goal. And like Ms. Russell said, when we met with our teachers, many of them, particularly high school teachers actually, said, yeah, this is what we do every day. And
Yeah.
so they were very confident in their ability to ensure that students grow.
Yes, I understand the growth part. I want to know how the distribution of students within this class is fair, that not one teacher gets a lot of high-performing students and then the other class gets a more challenging class. And that'll be a more difficult, even though it's still growth, but I think it would kind of put the teacher that has a more challenging class a little behind the 8 ball as far as trying to accomplish whatever they want to do. So I just want to see, because I've seen it before, I witnessed it, where a teacher is high performing, but she's high performing or he's high performing because he can select the students that are coming into his next class. And of course, you know, that's always going to be a high probability that they will do well in a T-test, especially with a star. You know? So.
Yeah, and again, an argument can be made that you don't want the highest performing students in your class because
they're not gonna move
there's
up.
very little room for growth. Whereas if you get lower performing students, making a few changes in your instructional practices, in your pedagogy, can result in significant growth, and going from a does not approach to just approaching standard is significant enough, whereas if you already have a student that masters, where do you take them?
Right, but I'm also going back that on the observation part is subjective, so they say, oh, that he or she is doing a fantastic job, so they'll probably get a high rating because of that. So
The other component is that the composite piece means they have to meet the minimum, not in one of the two areas, they have to meet the minimum in both areas.
yes, okay. Just want to make sure that everything's fair.
Yes, sir. That's a great question.
I know, one last question, okay? On this, when you have students at different schools, like you mentioned, what was it, Capistrano and Esther?
Based on your eco.
Is there going to be a weighted value added to those teachers that are teaching in these socioeconomic challenging populations?
That is actually determined by the state. They're the ones that assign the monies that go towards the socioeconomic status.
So they will be looking at that for sure. So-
Absolutely, sir.
So they don't evaluate them across the board just as,
Yeah.
Okay. That was it.
Thank you, Mr. Chua.
No,
Mr.
good
Rivera?
question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Along the line, what Mr. Ochoa was saying or asking, can you explain a little further for me, since that's the first time I hear this? The fact, when you mentioned a teacher going from Scottsdale, making a certain amount of money, and then being transferred over to, or requesting transfer over to Capistrano, and she takes that, or he takes that, are there teachers at Capistrano that can also achieve that same amount, depending on the growth?
Oh, yes, absolutely. If they're within the content area that we're approved for with the teacher incentive allotment, yes, absolutely, if they meet the 3 components.
Okay, and so they can meet that.
Yeah.
She just falls into place, and vice versa, if that teacher, that they switch spots and she goes to Scottsdale.
It
or
just
he
follows
goes-
them right through.
Okay,
Yes,
all right, thank you.
Great question.
Thanks.
Yeah, one of the elements is trying to get teachers that have a history of high performance at Scottsdale, at Eastwood Heights, at Glen Cove, to be attracted to the possibility of making more money if they're willing to take the challenge of going down to Capistrano, because Capistrano is socioeconomically more disadvantaged and it has greater opportunities, and the reward then is greater. But if a teacher is already at Capistrano, then they're already on the far end of the range. They're already going to get paid the maximum, depending on their designation, one of the 4 designations.
And have you found that their determination is just as, if not more so than moving over, once they get over to Scottsdale, the better environment area, or the...
I've always wondered about that. This will be my first experience for what basically is a pay-for-performance model. I've always wondered whether or not increasing someone's pay is going to make them a better teacher or make them work harder. I'd like to believe that every teacher out in our district is giving 110% every day, and that what they need is what I think Dr. Chacon mentioned, and that is we need to set aside that 10% so that when a teacher says, I'm that close to getting where I need to get, we have the professional development, the training, the instructional coaches available to them. We would like to see as many teachers as possible get the additional $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 a year. And initially, I was not a huge fan of pay for performance. But what I did come to realize just recently, and I know Charlie knows this, is we have teachers that are starting to take an interest in Clint ISD, and they're excited that Socorro ISD is headed that way. So in our case, it's a lot like open enrollment for students. Now teachers will have the luxury and the latitude to say, if you're not going to pay me for my performance, you had a husband and wife, I think, leave Riverside High School.
Yes, sir.
And go out to Clint, and within the first year, they're making $20,000, $25,000 more. I don't want to lose the teachers that have gotten us to where we are in this district. And so part of it is, I think, people that we've spoken to. We've gone to Garland ISD, we've gone to Dallas ISD, we've spoken to local ISDs, and they've convinced me that if done properly, this could be a game changer for our kids and for our teachers.
And one more thing, I know you talked about, or Mr. Ochoa also talked about the selection process. Can you, for one, again, can you repeat that just for those that might be listening in, and as well as, us, if someone didn't understand here? Who selects the students to go into class?
Oh, I'm going to turn that over to Dr. Chacon.
So usually your principals balance your classes based on the needs of the students, right? So, and let me share our demographics with you. When you're 80% economically disadvantaged, when you are almost 20% SPED and 28% EB, right? Emergent bilinguals and special ed. So 1 in 3 students, everybody's going to get a little bit of something. So those are our demographics. The principals balance out a lot of the classrooms based on not just demographics, but also behaviors. They balance out to ensure that they're not one class is bigger than the other, so on and so forth. So a lot of different dynamics and a lot of decisions go into balancing our classes, both at the elementary and secondary level.
Okay, thank you, President.
They're being really selective because positioning one teacher to have great success at the expense of another teacher, because you've overwhelmed them with special ed or emerging bilingual students, will sort of negate each other. Yeah, she did great, but in terms of the 8F accountability, you set this teacher up to fail, and it's going to take away everything that you did for the other teacher. So it's not in the principal's best interest to not strategically, based on the teacher's strengths and history, say, these 4 students would benefit from this teacher because they're very responsive to a male, or these students would benefit from this teacher because she does a great job with students who maybe are autistic, those type of things, to kind of create a great balance that gives every teacher in a grade level configuration the best chance of having a good year.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Rivera. Mr. Dwyer?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mrs. Russell, could you go back to the slide with the dollar amounts on it? That slide. I think would you review this slide one more time, and would you compare Presa with Scottsdale?
Oh, I'd be happy to do so. So what this slide shows is the minimum amount a teacher could make and the maximum amount a teacher could make based on the designation that they receive. So for example, an acknowledged teacher at a high socioeconomic campus, meaning their parents make exceptional amount of money, would make $4,316, whereas a campus that has a very low socioeconomic status, the teacher could get $8,500. So if we take an acknowledged teacher from Presa and we compare that, a teacher that is acknowledged at Presa with a teacher that's acknowledged at Scottsdale, the Presa teacher would get $6,600 because their socioeconomic status is much lower than Scottsdale. And that Scottsdale teacher would get $5,000. So you'd see a difference about $1,600 based on the socioeconomic status between the 2 campuses.
Are there any guardrails in with teachers from Scottsdale wanting to move to Presa for more money?
If there is a vacancy there and they request it within the transfer period, we will certainly try to facilitate that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you.
My question is, so when we already have the matrix for the math part of it for our teachers, and we start looking into the English and the reading, and we go into fine arts and we go into PE, do we have to wait 2 years for those metrics when we turn it into Texas Tech?
No, not necessarily. So once we are approved, we reapply each year. And each year we add additional content areas, additional specialized support areas. And it has to get approved by Texas Tech. Once it's approved, then we would submit our data.
Right.
They validate our data. If they meet the criteria established, then they would be compensated.
Okay. And this came, Ms. Woodruff and I were at TASA about, 2-3 years ago? And we talked to a trustee and a superintendent. They had started this incentive program, and we came up to De La Torre and we said, how are we going to do this? I know they have been working on this for a long time to make it, like Mr. Ochoa said, as equal as possible. But as you start seeing it, like Dr. De La Torre said, I saw one of our best teachers leave, and they went to the Clint district. And we have the best teachers, and I know we don't want to lose our teachers. So, and the state is pretty much forcing our hand to do this, so might as well do it, and like we do it at Ysleta, we do it right. So I know that this can continue not only as math, reading, My brother-in-law teaches in McAllen, and they just implemented the PE part of it. So he just got masters. So I know that this is something that's going to be good for our teachers, and I really like the way this is going, and especially to protect our teachers and continue for their growth and being able to get compensated for it. So thank you for your hard work on this. I truly appreciate it.
It's our pleasure. Thank you.
March, okay. Today's 18th, right? Okay. At this time, we will review the March 18, 2026 agenda item and motions with the superintendent, executive cabinet. With session, this session allows us to ask questions, gather information before we move forward in deliberation and action during our regular meeting. Stop me if you have any questions. Consent, consider approval of the minutes for the number 1 Board of Trustees workshop and regular board meeting, February 18th, 2026 at 6 p.m. Monthly financial report for January 2026. Number 3, SB 13 library books purchase approval for quarter 3.
Mr. President, I have a question on item 3.
Yes, Mr. Hernandez.
So this list on the YISD Library Services website is a list of books that wish to be purchased. My question is, have any books been removed recently that were previously available at YISD libraries?
I do not believe, no, we have not received any books to be removed from the list that have been approved. So nobody has, I can't remember the challenged, I think there's a process to challenge it. No one has challenged the books that have been recently purchased.
Okay, very good. Are we always being notified of when, if should this
Yes,
board
so
will be
that's-
notified if any book is removed or banned?
I believe, I want to leave that to Priscilla, but I believe that's in the new policy that the board is, you are informed of the books that are being purchased, like we have been, but I'll leave that, because I believe it does say in the policy.
That's correct. Good evening, Board President, Mr. Bustillos, board members, and Dr. De La Torre, Priscilla Mata, Chief Counsel. So we did have the board adopt the new policy to conform with the new law, Senate Bill 13, which establishes a new book challenge procedure. Eventually, the challenge does come to the Board of Trustees, so absolutely, you do get notified and informed of any book challenge that comes to us. We haven't had one to date, but I believe the new policy is an EHBA, if I'm not mistaken, and it sets out the procedure and requires notification.
Yeah, that's my concern. If I don't have to ask, every time we do this and know that, hey, board, we're removing this book, will it be in an action or policy item, or will this be slipped in through a consent agenda?
No, so you're asking if there were to be a book challenge and ultimately the book gets removed, whether or not it's going to come to you as a consent item or an action item?
Yes.
It actually comes to you all as the decision makers. You have the ultimate say in whether or not to remove the book. So you get to serve as the fact finders, if you will, and determine whether or not the book actually provides the value that the state requires, that our literature provide to our kids, and you get to be the fact finder. You ultimately, by a majority of the vote, get to decide whether the book gets removed.
Perfect. Thank you
Yes,
so
sir.
much.
Any other questions? No? All right. The order of the agenda has been approved. May I have an electronic motion on the remaining consent items listed on the agenda recommended by administration? We have a motion by Ms. Woodruff.
I move to approve the consent agenda items listed on this agenda as recommended by the administration.
We have a second by Mr. Ochoa. Please cast your votes. All votes are in. It is approved. We have 7 in favor and none opposed. And that's all we have for today, so may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you.
7:49 PM.
Get the wrong one.